Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to the Atelier. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So yeah, my name is Beth, and I'm going to be talking to you today about the wonderful world of test portfolios. There's a couple of omissions there. I've not called it test automation portfolios, and there's a good reason why. And I also have, I thought I had all the slides I needed for this talk and it would be really easy, and then I had to rewrite everything because I wanted to focus on what's in it for me, because I think a lot of people hear the phrase test portfolio and they kind of think, what's the point? Why do I need to do this? Why is it worth my time? My time is precious. So if you are one of those people, this is aimed at you. So I'm not going to do an intro slide. You can find out about me if you want to. Look on LinkedIn, usual places. Twitter, I'm there. Always happy to connect. But we're going to be looking through the medium of the donut, which is just an exquisite piece of bakery item, about test portfolios. So we're going to be focusing on a few things. Firstly, test portfolios, unfortunately, will not bring your electricity and gas bill down. Sad times. And they won't solve the climate crisis. And I'm also not here to sell you anything or promote anything, because it won't make me any money either. But they are worth talking about because I think they're a very practical tool that I've used and I think others can also use to kind of add value to your testing career, including helping you to land a job. And it shows I'm putting my money where my mouth is because I am looking for my next job starting January. Hi. So during the pandemic, I was inspired by Angie Jones. I don't know if anyone's heard of her. She is my absolute hero. To complete a test portfolio of my own. And we're going to be looking today at the whole 5 W's and an H. If there's any Coders Guild people in here, you will be familiar with this technique. So it's just a way of kind of describing stuff that will hopefully make sense. We're going to look at what a test portfolio is. The crucial question, the biggest donut, is why? Why bother doing one? What's in it for you? Who are they useful for? And who are they maybe not so useful for? We're going to look at specifics of how I did my portfolio. It might help you come up with some ideas for how to do yours. And I'll be sharing my portfolio with you at the end, along with a quick one-page plan. If you need something to take away from this conference to give back to your boss or team or whatever, this might help give you a tangible takeaway. So, and we're lastly going to be looking at when's the right time to do them. It might not be what you think, and where to start. So get thinking about some places or areas where you've learned a lot from maybe in the past few years that you wouldn't mind sharing with other people. Okay, so let's take a look at my short but sweet definition of a test portfolio. So there isn't an official definition, but they are something that is growing a little bit in popularity. And I think a good way of describing them would be a selection of dynamic artifacts, the important bit, which serves as a personal story of a tester's growing achievements, knowledge, and skill. And that word story is really important. Why? Because narrative bias. Because stories make sense to people, much more so than a set of disparate, I've done this thing, I did this thing a little while ago, series of facts. A story can tie those up and make them relatable to people who you can influence. So in a nutshell, if you're wondering how a portfolio is different from a CV shows that you can talk the talk. If anyone's ever been in an interview with someone with a glowing CV, and then you've tried to ask them a few questions based on the things in that CV, CVs are extraordinarily easy to bullshit. Whereas a portfolio can show you can also walk that walk. Best thing though, don't cost any money, which is, as a northerner, why I love them. So I wrote a portfolio. I focused on test automation And in the end, I had 8 test automation frameworks. And it's led on to a number of things, and it didn't cost me a single penny, which I think is great, because we all know that certification and all that stuff can sometimes get quite expensive and not necessarily change that much for you. So we know the jobs market is pretty good right now, but you never know what's around the corner. So I think knowing about these things and maybe having them top of mind might help you. So we're testers, so we love a good persona, right? So I'm going to take you through a few scenarios to hopefully give you a bit of context as to how they might be able to use a portfolio to achieve something. And maybe you'll see yourself or someone that you recognise at work or someone you know in the community. So this is, I don't know, come up with a name. Anyone? Harry. Okay, this is Harry. Harry's a continuous learner, which is one of the reasons she wanted to try working in software testing. She's read about the importance of having a growth mindset and is battling her imposter syndrome long enough to try and get one. She wants to challenge herself to acquire a new set of skills, something that she'll really actually enjoy doing. Sarah's just about to start her first testing role. Harry. Just about to start her first testing role in a company that became fully remote during the pandemic. So there's lots of people that were there that had lots of FaceTime with the people, the decision makers, before she arrived. And she's worried that she'll just end up being another name on a screen somewhere. And more interesting opportunities might go to people who can spend more face-to-face time with decision makers. It's a problem a lot of people have. So how could a portfolio help? So Russell Craxford, who is a testing peer. If anyone doesn't know about the Testing Peers podcast, please check it out because it's awesome. And he's head of quality management, and he talks about portfolios in a cool way to say, you know, managers aren't robots. Sometimes they need reminding of what you care about and the opportunities that they can give you, maybe not immediately, but in the future. And a portfolio could really show them that you care about testing beyond the task at hand. So how might that help Sarah? I read somewhere that rhyming things makes them stickier, so there's lots of cheesy rhymes. Sorry, not sorry. So in her first year at the company, Sarah works with her mentor to design a test portfolio. She focuses on mobile testing because she thinks she'll enjoy learning more about it, and she hears on the grapevine that a new app might be in the works at her company. Her Trello board portfolio, nod to Kelly Kenyon if she's here, she did one of these, it was awesome, includes a mind map of all the things she's learned with course completion certificates and a vlog she's made talking about the difference between web, native and hybrid apps. She calls it Sarah's Getting More Mobile, Harry's Getting More Mobile. Her line manager is able to argue that she deserves a bigger salary increase on the back of her hard work, particularly because Sarah's aligned her learning goals with those dreaded company KPIs, which others in her team never got quite round to doing. When the opportunity arises and that mobile team spun up, Sarah's first in line to put her new skills to the test commercially. Who's next? Another name. Need another name, Gwen. Sam. Sam, okay. Solid name there, Sam, solid. Sam's looking for his next SDET role. His CV mentions a few languages, technical skills, CI/CD stuff that he's used in the past, but he feels like it doesn't really show people what he's interested in or what he can do. He sees a job at his dream company, but he's really nervous. He knows he's got to pull out something special to get himself noticed. I love this quote because someone awesome wrote it. I don't know who she is. In creating and showing off your portfolio, you are helping your future employers to mentally de-risk you as a new hire. I know this is true from experience, because seeing a portfolio really helped me persuade my boss to hire somebody, which they did. because it showed that they were really passionate about what they did. It showed in particular what they were interested in learning about. According to Suman Bala, who is lovely, if you have to relocate jobs or even country, which a lot of us do nowadays, then a portfolio can be a massive help. It'll help you stand out. You might have a good reputation within your team or your organisation, but a portfolio can help boost that reputation outside the organisation as well. It gives talking points for interviews. It gives interviews a place to go. If you're someone that finds it quite hard to think on the spot, come up with answers to technical questions right there and then, knowing you've got this, perhaps a set of code that you can look at, really helps shape your answer and give you license to give better answers at interviews, I think. So Sam, what does he do? He creates a suite of test automation frameworks in GitHub, creates a GitHub page. He includes security tests and automated accessibility tests as well. He also creates a blog post where he discusses when automation isn't the right answer. He references this in an elevator pitch video, which he sends to the hiring manager of that dream company. It's a remote interview. The interviewer asks to walk through some techniques he's used to improve maintainability, and he's able to point to times when he's done particular design patterns or code smells that he's helped improved, or how he would limit the scope or make it more maintainable in future. His passion's really infectious, and I've put here in my mythical scenario that he gets the job. Of course he does. So I've said this lady is called Angie. Any improvements on Angie? Sonia. Okay. What did Sonia sing? So Sonia, she's a senior quality coach and she's moved around a fair bit over the years. In her latest role, she's been asked to train her engineering team about exploratory testing techniques, which she's done previously, but she can't quite remember how. She has a fuck my life moment when she realises she's left some amazing template, but it's on her local machine on her old laptop. I don't know if anyone's ever done that, but I absolutely have. So how can a portfolio help her? It's back to the storytelling, really. It helps you show how far you've come, but it helps you prove to others how far you've come as well. And it helps you remember all the things you did, which is something that we can easily forget. We think about the latest thing. So assuming the average person in this room, the average someone working in this industry, maybe between 30 and 40 years old, I guess. What's the average tenure for a permie job in tech, would you say? 2 years, 3 years? Something like that, Sam, you reckon? About 3 years? So that means you've got a lot of opportunities to reuse stuff that you've learned, as long as you can still get your hands on it. I am not arguing here to break non-disclosure agreements. That would be bad. Instead, when you're doing stuff, try and think about making a boilerplate copy without anything NDA breaking, of a handy piece of code, a shortcut, a document. Store it somewhere you can access that forever. So, where were we? Sonia thinks about all the things she's reused over the years. She decides to make an NDA-free suite of templates that she can plug and play in future. So her Linktree portfolio bio includes an exploratory testing example of a demo website, a YouTube video of her performing some exploratory testing, along with an explanation of the heuristics that she's used. And this is particularly pertinent to me, a set of keyboard shortcuts she's found useful when switching from a Windows machine to a Mac machine, because that does my head in. Okay, so there's a few other things portfolios can be. They can be anything that you like. Wrap them up in this terminology of being a portfolio rather than just this disparate set of things that people can't follow that. wrap it up in the narrative, and it will make it easier for people to digest. So lots of different things they can be, and they don't have to be huge. They can be a tiny, tiny thing. Start small, and then start even smaller than that. But call it a portfolio from the off, because it's that story, that journey that you're telling. So let's move on to the how. How I picked my donuts. So the donut analogy is all about, you walk into Krispy Kreme and there are 50 different donuts you can pick. And the ones that you want to pick, there's lots of reasons why you might pick a particular donut. Maybe you're going for the vegan ones. Maybe you want the ones that have got the most sprinkles on because you need an energy rush. Lots of the choice is yours, and it's very similar thing with portfolios. It does not have to be automation focused. But mine was, because it was something that I was not very confident in, and I wanted to just prove to myself really that I could do it. So it was important to me. Oh, has this got a laser? Ah, it's got a laser. Okay. It was important to me that I could automate. When designing my frameworks, I wanted to automate throughout the stack, because I hear lots of people talking about this and how it's important to know the level of the stack that you want to focus your automation on. And I wanted to prove that I could do that. And I wanted to automate in different languages too. Because I had the coding fundamentals, I wanted to see how easy it was just to switch from JavaScript to C# to Java. I wanted to try automating different websites. The Ministry of Testing has an amazing set of example websites that you can use to do anything you want on. I wanted it to be free because I'm Northern. I wanted to explore one cool feature. So I didn't want to do everything in the world. I just wanted to have a framework and do one cool thing in it. So that one cool thing, we'll have a look at some examples of what I did. But importantly, I wanted to tell people about what I was doing at the same time. It wasn't enough to just do it for me. It was important to be visible to others. And that, more than doing the thing, being visible about the thing as what's led to other opportunities. So although that sounds like the easiest bit, in a lot of ways that was the hardest bit. So, you might be someone who you want to really focus on machine learning or AI, and you don't have the opportunity to do that at work, and you really want to dig into that. You might want to follow one of those set training paths. The Ministry of Testing are bringing out a brilliant syllabus, hopefully in the new year, that's going to be amazing. And Test Automation University have set courses that you can follow if you want to be a low-code engineer, or you want to learn more about API testing, whatever it is. Or maybe it's one of those 30-day challenges that you want to complete. But just take your pick. So the next bit, toughest bit, actually doing the work. Ideas are easy, right? Doing it a little bit harder. But I'm all about doing something and then someone learning from my mistakes. So my portfolios followed a similar pattern. Firstly, I magpied the code base from somewhere. Usually that was doing an online course. There are millions of free online courses that I'm sure you will maybe have access to at work, Udemy course or whatever. I leveraged the framework that I wrote during that course, and I made sure that that worked. Sometimes that was harder than you would think if the framework was a few years old and it was maybe a UI automation. I enhanced that code to work on a different website because I wanted to test different websites. And then I did my cool thing. Whatever that was, I'd made sure I did that on every framework. And then I published the repo in GitHub publicly and blogged about it. But what did the reality look like? It sounds really easy, but it took a really long time, and I made a lot of mistakes when I was doing it. Sometimes there were just these humps that seemed completely insurmountable, and I had to walk away and then come back. And this took months and months and months of chipping away to get it to where it needed to be. And I had to ask for help a lot. So a lot of frameworks wouldn't work out of the box, and figuring out why. Sometimes the site wasn't there anymore, or the server was down, or the libraries needed updating, all of that stuff. Sometimes that was the hardest thing to get over. But having made my intentions public, the first thing I did was publish a blog saying what my goal was, what I wanted to achieve. And when I'd done that, I felt like I couldn't really go back on what I'd said. So I reached out to the course instructors if I was struggling. I reached out to the community. Having a buddy system would have been amazing. So if this is something you were thinking about doing, and there's someone at work you might want to do this with, buddy up with them, be each other's support network, get each other through it. But it meant that I felt like I was more a part of this community, because there are so many people in testing that will help you for free, quite willingly, and they want you to do well. And that was something that I learned kind of the hard way, but it was good. So these are some of the frameworks. I also did an NUnit framework, and was approached by a company to do a low-code framework as well. Some of the cool features, it doesn't have to be a massive thing. It might be you want to look at relative locators in Selenium 4. I may or may not use them, but now I know what they are. You might want to look at mocks in APIs. You might want to look at how to do an atomic test. So you're focusing a UI test on, you're doing all the background checks at a lower level of the stack, and then you're pushing it through to just test the UI on the front end. Whatever you would like to do. So, next up, when to write it. Alex Reynolds did a brilliant, I don't know if anyone went to Test Bash UK. Yeah? Did you see Alex's talk? Yeah. It was awesome. So, I think the talks are due to come out in the next couple of weeks, but I definitely encourage anyone looking to try any of this stuff to watch his talk. He talks about the importance of forming a habit, not setting a goal that's too big that you're never going to reach it. Just start really small. Start with, I want to get this cool bash script, and I want to put that somewhere that I can use again. Ideally, you will have you all have cool magical employers that will give you unlimited time to do this at work. Maybe that's less realistic for some than for others. But don't start it when you're in the middle of something else, in the middle of some life event. That's not going to work. Do it when you've got a bit of time to chip away at it. And even if that's setting a habit of 15 minutes a day when you've taken the kids back from school or whatever, to just focus on it. It really doesn't need to be huge. The most popular blog post that I wrote, still to this day, is the one where I said, this is what I want to do. I set my stall out, I wrote my story. That's the one that people care about. It isn't the technical detail. There's times when I've probably thought it needn't be there, but it's so nice for me to have that to refer back to. So there was a Cypress framework that I did, and then Cypress came up at work and someone said, has anyone ever used that? And I said, well, yeah, let me get a proof of concept to you. It'll take me 30 seconds because I've already got this framework there and I can just line it up. I did a anonymous mock interview, which I don't know if anyone's heard of these things. There's some guys over Silicon Valley way, and they put you in front of a panel, and it's just your audio that you can hear, and you have to kind of pitch to them. So that was terrifying. But that was for an automation role, and I thought, no, I'll tell them about this portfolio and see what they think. And they were pretty impressed with it, and it was something that other people that also went through the same process hadn't have done. So it's definitely a way to get yourself noticed. So you can get ahead without these things. I'm not advocating that they should be mandatory. People have lives, people have shit to do. But as an investment in your future career direction, no one else is going to do this stuff for you. It was Mental Health Day yesterday. And it's also Ada Lovelace Day today. I don't know if anyone knows that. So be kind to yourself. Take the shortcuts that you can. Make the most out of something small and see where it takes you. So does anyone have any resources or any go-to places that you think could help other people if they were thinking of doing something like this? Shona, where would you go to? Yes. Yeah, they're... Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a few things in there. And there's definitely, the best thing Ministry of Testing have done in the last 6 months is put a search bar on their website so you can actually just look for something. So, you know, if you want to learn about API testing, just put that in there, and there's tons and tons of stuff. Obviously, as the Test Automation University instructor myself, I would always advocate for that platform. It's wicked. And I got that opportunity because of this. Because I'd done this, Angie Jones reached out to me and said, you know about APIs? I was like, no, but I'll learn it. Anyone else? Go ahead.
I heard with a developer who was preparing for an interview, and they were doing challenges on LeetCode, but they kept failing them because they hadn't thought of all the different test cases.
Wicked.
So LeetCode has a series of stuff that it goes through to see if your code solves that puzzle. So I wrote the tests. So as they were writing the code, I wrote the tests, and if they passed my test, they were going to pass the puzzle.
That's a great example. Link code. LeetCode.
I think it's what Facebook used to interview with.
Okay. Well, that's a new one on me. That's awesome. Any more for any more? Go ahead.
Not necessarily a resource, but something maybe to bear in mind. If you're going to blog, maybe don't use Medium, because it kind of tables are up to you get free.
Yes.
So you kind of stop people being able to access your content, and so if they're reading it, it's going to be a bit weird.
Yeah, I find that with Medium too. I personally use a WordPress blog, but even then it can get expensive when you're doing it just on your own. But I think about 6,000 or 7,000 people have viewed the articles that I wrote for the test portfolios, and a few people have been in touch to say they'll help. So something to bear in mind. If anyone wants one of these from me, I have a couple to give you. It's just a very quick one-page guide. If you're interested in thinking about what you might do if you wrote a portfolio of your own. According to Alex Reynolds, if you write your intentions down, you've got a 60% increased chance of actually doing them. So it's really important to just visualize that and physically write it down and say what you want to do. Feel free to give it to your manager or whoever as a takeaway from the conference. And hopefully one or two of you will be inspired to do one of these. So the kind of last thing to remember, if you only remember one thing about this talk, it isn't that the finished article is the most important thing. It's the fact that you've given yourself a compelling story to share. And we humans are built on stories, and we love journeys. So go and make yours. That is a QR code which takes you through to my GitHub portfolio page. It's also a template. I would be more than happy for anyone to just take my template and reuse it, modify it for yourself, do whatever you need to. You'll also find it on GitHub, Ask Her Consulting. I am available on all those socials, and yeah, let's have a fantastic rest of the atelier. I'm looking for the bar room.